This is your government video on committee leadership. Remember, both the House and the Senate is broken up into committees. These are large groups, usually 20 to 30 members, who look at bills of some varying topic. But each committee is also broken up into various subcommittees, and both the committee and the chairperson of that committee have a lot of say over which committee members go to which subcommittee, and also in picking the subcommittee chairperson. So here are just some of the powers that the chairperson has. They get to set the committee's agenda. What are they meeting? When are they meeting? How are they meeting? What topics are going to be talked about, which bills are going to be coming to that committee, and whether or not they want to debate them. Remember, the majority party has the committee chairperson, so as long as they vote together, they could immediately pigeonhole a bill in committee, and then the other members of the minority party of that committee might never even have a say to debate or talk about that bill at all. The chairperson also gets to hire the entire staff for the committee. So in addition to having each individual representative and senator having their own personal staff, the committee itself has a staff of people, and those are hired and fired by the chairperson. They get to decide who's going to which committees, and then which bills that come to the committee go to which subcommittee members. Typically, the majority party gets the chairperson role because as long as the majority party votes together, then they will always have the most votes on any committee. And they typically pick the most senior member of the majority party. So if there is a person from the majority party who's been in Congress a really long time and they have a lot of experience on this committee, it's likely that they will be the chairperson. Now, a lot of times when we think about members of the House and Senate, we think about them disagreeing or not getting along, and we typically think that that's due to party differences. And that's true. Members of two parties might not want to compromise and get along. But there's other things to consider also. And the first one we're going to talk about is representation. Some people who are elected to public office see their role differently than other people. And there's three main ways to look at representation. The first one we're going to talk about is a delegate. So an elected official who views their job as a delegate means that they are a delegate of the people. And whatever their constituents' beliefs are, they're going to vote that way in Congress, regardless of their personal beliefs. So if a majority of their citizens like a certain bill, even if the elected representative doesn't like it, they're going to vote yes because they see their role as doing what their constituents want. The second type of representation is called a trustee. A trustee is somebody that believes the voters of their district elected them to do what they believe is the best job, so that the voters trust them to use their personal judgment. And therefore, they vote with what they personally believe, not necessarily what the majority of their constituents want. The third one is a Politico. A Politico is somebody who flips back and forth between a delegate or a trustee based upon what's best politically at the time. So if a bill is coming forward, they might act as a delegate in that role and then flip to a trustee. Sometimes you hear these people referred to as flip-floppers, but they do what is best for, or what they perceive as best for their citizens and for re-election so that they can do the best job for their citizens. Remember, the role of the members of Congress is typically lawmaking. The goal is to try to pass good laws that solve problems. The problem is that it's very difficult to pass a law, and just because you spend a lot of time passing it doesn't mean it's actually going to work to solve the problem. That's why policymaking is difficult. So here are just some ways that they can get along and try to force compromise amongst people who generally don't want to compromise. They have to build a consensus, which means either the majority party just always votes together, or they have to build a consensus with some people from the other side of the aisle. One way to do this is through log rolling. This is also referred to as quid pro quo, which translates to this for that. It's an exchange of political favors. So let's say that I'm a representative and your bill is going to be in my committee this week. We make a deal that I report out and vote yes on your bill in my committee, And then when a bill that I really care about comes to you 3 months from now, you agree to vote on it in my favor. And we make those agreements. Now, again, members of Congress are often in Congress for many years and many election cycles. So breaking your agreements would mean that you don't have any political capital in the future. So if they are going to make agreements with people, they do want to keep their word. Another great way to build consensus is through the state's delegation. If you look at a state, let's say Arizona as an example, we have 2 senators and we also have 11 representatives. Now, members of the House and Senate are from various political parties. So let's say there is a bill that's really good for the state of Arizona. It's possible that you can get all of the members of Arizona's state delegation to vote for it, even if they're from different political parties. The last thing is called pork barrel projects or pork barrel legislation. This is kind of a derogatory term for adding various earmarks or things to the bottom of the bill to pay off or give money to a district in order to get the representatives' vote on that particular bill. So these earmarks are often added to the bottom of the bill. They generally do not have anything to do with the topic of the bill, but it is to give some local district a bunch of federal money for some local project so that the person who represents that area will vote yes on the bill, regardless of whether they like the bill as a whole. The next thing you're going to do for Active Learning 3 is a series of short answers. So for Active Learning 3, do these on paper and explain or describe these questions on your paper and make sure that you're handwriting your answers.